And I'm not trying to be negative here, but one has to think that if Joshua loses this fight, it's the end of the road. I mean, what more is he going to do? He has achieved everything you want to achieve by getting involved in combat sports. And if he loses this one, he's lost his last two, he lost to Andy Ruiz, and certainly those big mega fights, the opportunities for them have sailed. So there's a lot of pressure there.
1 week away from the long-awaited rematch between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, the rage on the Red Sea, aka Usyk versus Joshua 2. Now, this is heavyweight boxing, meaning anything can happen.
الوعد في جدة.
Hey Ringsiders, welcome back to Ringside Stories, where we take a look beyond the beautiful sport of boxing through mini documentaries, backstories, previews, and much more. So if you haven't already, feel free to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the latest fire boxing content. Thanks for your consideration and support in advance. As an old saying goes, boxing is a young man's sport. History, however, says this has not always proven to be a clear advantage. When former two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua, steps into the ring on August 20, 2022, he will have to produce to prove his critics wrong once more. And at what better place than in the country AJ was able to regain his world titles 3 years prior. This time around, however, the proposition is quite different in terms of skill, experience, determination, and a proven track record, which has led to professional victories 19 times in a row. Now, of course, Usyk's experience and ability speak volumes. Although he holds the win over Anthony Joshua, Usyk versus Joshua 2 may turn out completely different than their first fight in September 2021.
That's why I feel like this training and this fight combined together is a great experience for me, and I can use it as leverage moving forward in my career.
Number 1, high risks, high rewards. So what exactly is at stake for both fighters? Alexander Usyk is arguably the greatest cruiserweight of all time, holding all 4 world titles in just 15 pro fights, defeating 3 undefeated reigning world champions in their backyard, including Mairis Briedis, who after the Usyk loss went on to win the World Boxing Super Series, as well as the IBF and Ring Magazine World Cruiserweight titles. Then on September 25th, 2021, Alexander Usyk proved his doubters wrong and left little to no doubt who the better man was on the night, fighting away from home against a strong and accomplished two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world.
And new
If Usyk successfully defends his world titles, defeating AJ for a second time in a row, that would prove the first fight wasn't a fluke, and that Alexander Usyk is the embodiment of a pound-for-pound level elite. Anthony Joshua has to once again overcome adversity, regaining what was once his, which AJ proved he could overcome in 2019 when he outboxed Andy Ruiz Jr. in the immediate rematch in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia. Simply put, however, Alexander Usyk is not Andy Ruiz Jr. Having to right his wrong will be an uphill battle for Anthony Joshua, which is what has made Joshua's career so far more than interesting. The first Joshua versus Usyk fight proved a couple of things. Joshua cannot box with Usyk simply because boxing, technically speaking, Usyk is miles ahead of Anthony Joshua, who made a tactical error to box the elite boxer on top of a failing corner who did nothing to help change the course of the fight. All 3 judges had Usyk winning the last 4 rounds on Anthony Joshua's home turf. This time around, Joshua will not have home court advantage. And so if Joshua beats Usyk, AJ is a 3-time unified heavyweight champion of the world and must get his just due for beating an elite pound-for-pound level opponent. On the other hand, a loss against Alexander Usyk in the immediate rematch will not only set back AJ's pursuit of becoming the first undisputed heavyweight world champion since 1999, it will most likely change the perception of many boxing fans, and unfortunately, boxing legacy is about how people perceive you. That is what it means to lose the Usyk rematch.
For Alexander Usyk, for crying out loud, his country's being invaded by Russia. His people are dying every single day. You know, so when he goes in there, of course he's got the stress of that. He's got the trauma of that. He's got all those distractions. Brothers that you know, training partners, family, friends, cousins, friends of friends. Talk about a distraction. So there's that, first of all. And then, of course, he wants to inspire his nation. Somebody like Alexander Usyk going out there and winning and beating Anthony Joshua and winning this fight and sending a huge message that is going to inspire them to keep fighting, to stay strong, to show them that potentially anything is possible. You know, so there's that to think about as well.
Number 2, strengths and unknowns. Alexander Usyk proved to be a novelty for Anthony Joshua in September of 2021. Usyk utilizes a very advanced boxing IQ, figures out his opponents quite quickly, makes adjustments, and breaks his opponents down in a variety of ways. Alexander Usyk has a multi-purposeful jab, great foot and upper body movement, counter-punching ability, and the use of broken rhythm to offset his opponents amongst other skills. Usyk is used to traveling abroad. As a matter of fact, Alexander Usyk has earned all of his accolade, pro and amateur, away from home, as the Ukrainian has fought in high-profile fights before in numerous countries, including England, Germany, the United States, Poland, Latvia, and Russia. Anatoly Lomachenko, aka Papachenko, father of three-weight world champion Vasyl Lomachenko, who led Usyk to Olympic gold in 2012, the undisputed world championship in 2018, as well as his victory over Anthony Joshua in the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, London, England. Having Papachenko in his corner has been a winning formula with Usyk before. Maybe it could prove to be successful once again. Now let's talk about Usyk's unknown. How will Usyk deal with Joshua's new corner, i.e. strategy? How is Usyk physically and mentally knowing what has happened in his country in the last couple of months? Joshua's attributes. Now the elephant in the room is AJ's punching power, and when all said and done, mid-range is where Anthony Joshua's bread is buttered, especially with his signature uppercut. Although AJ has a long jab which he has developed over time, against Usyk first time around, that didn't prove to be as effective as in previous fights. But don't get it twisted, Anthony Joshua can fight on the outside if he absolutely needs to, and if he mixes that up with his come-forward style under his new trainer, Robert Garcia, AJ might surprise Usyk a little bit. Even though Joshua lost twice, including against Alexander Usyk, AJ's biggest asset is his commitment to the game, as he has achieved almost everything there is to achieve in the amateurs without a vast amateur career. As a pro, he held 3 of the 4 major world titles twice, made multiple title defenses, including 2 unification bouts as a world champion, beating multiple undefeated fighters in just over 20 fights. To have faced so many different styles, fighting all around the world with just 2 L's on his record, is a testament of Anthony Joshua's willingness to improve. The question is, how far can Watford's own Joshua grow still? Having fought in sold-out venues in the mecca of heavyweight boxing, Madison Square Garden, the UK multiple times, and Saudi Arabia, including venues that were just built for him, Anthony Joshua has pretty much been learning on the job and hasn't stopped ever since. The stage for this upcoming rematch with Alexander Usyk will not be something new for Anthony Joshua, although the stakes are definitely against them. How will Joshua implement his tactics? How will he react to Usyk's adjustments? How will Joshua's stamina be? How will Joshua's newfound partnership with Robert Garcia be? Number 3, psychology. With everything that is going on in Alexander Usyk's country, having been back for months to support his fellow countrymen, I'm pretty sure Usyk has a lot on his mind other than boxing. Now, of course, Alexander Usyk is a phenomenal boxer with a well of experience, a 2-weight, 1-time undisputed world champion, and a certain future Hall of Famer. The Joshua rematch will be Usyk's 9th consecutive world title fight on foreign soil. However, a fight outside of the squared circle affects a human psychology like nothing else. How has Usyk dealt with his current circumstances? How will those circumstances shape Usyk's mentality? In the first fight, Alexander Usyk was instructed to not stop Joshua. Will that be different in the rematch?
The fight you expected to have from Anthony Joshua tonight?
Не, пожестче ожидал.
No, I thought
Может быть, я просто был готов к этому.
I thought he was gonna be tougher, but maybe I was ready for it.
You know, before he even lost a fight, I would say that talent-wise, I think he's the best heavyweight. But he needs to be in a place in the gym with trainers, with other fighters that are going to push him.
Now, a lot has been said about Anthony Joshua's new trainer, but the fact that he got rid of longtime amateur trainer Rob McCracken may be perceived as a step in the right direction for many objective observers. The fact that AJ has taken so long to finally sign Robert Garcia speaks to Joshua's seeking for perfection. How much time will he actually have to not only implement the correct game plan, but also have his psychology on point on fight night to produce the result that he needs in order to regain what was once his?
And I'm done with losing.
I'm done with trying to learn the boxing sweet science. Whether the ref likes my style or not, he might get thrown on the floor in the next fight because this is war, innit?
Number 4, course of the fight. As for the actual fight, I think it will start a bit cagey, but not for too long. With Robert Garcia in his corner, I see Anthony Joshua attempting to establish his dominance, trying to land something big early on. I see Joshua also attack the body more than he did in the first Usyk fight. Most likely, Usyk will respond, making the adjustments through his footwork, control of distance, ring IQ, and punch selection. Unlike the first fight, I envision Anthony Joshua trying to catch Alexander Usyk without being too reckless. After a fast start, I think Joshua loses some steam, and if he fails to get Usyk out in the first 7 rounds, AJ will have to recover and maybe take parts of rounds off, which will play right into Alexander Usyk's hand. The imminent power of Joshua will always play a factor. Now that said, if AJ cannot establish his dominance or even finish Usyk in the opening stages, he'll probably have a dip during the mid-rounds, as these have been AJ's slowest rounds historically, especially against top-level opposition. And if his idea is to do a demolition job on Alexander Usyk, AJ might well be on his way to punching himself out. Depending on how both fighters deal with their respective tactics, I see Usyk, who is a slow starter with the exception of a few including the first Anthony Joshua fight, get in his groove fairly quickly depending on how AJ applies his tactics, to where 2 things can happen. Either Joshua catches Usyk, or Usyk will adjust to Joshua, capitalize on the Brit, and win in dramatic fashion. Number 5, Ringside's official, unofficial prediction. Well, if I were a betting man, I'd take Alexander Usyk by stoppage. Hedge with Anthony Joshua by stoppage, simply because AJ has something to prove. He always has that power, yet now he has a trainer who can instruct him with proper tactics.
I love that challenge, especially coming off a loss and getting the rematch. It's a great challenge for me. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to get Anthony to become champion again.
Would I be shocked if the outcome proves to be different? No, because again, this is heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen in Usyk versus Joshua 2. Even more the case than in the first fight. On the flip side, Alexander Usyk's country has been going through some trials and tribulation. These events may have and might still be troubling Usyk. Maybe he will use this as fuel to make a statement, to give his country some much needed motivation and inspiration. Even though this is the second installment between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, there are still some questions that fight fans will see answered on fight night. Apart from the possibility for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, Usyk versus Joshua 2 is an intriguing matchup in and of itself. Joshua has hired an offensive-minded trainer who has accomplished at world level both as a fighter and a trainer, yet lacks the track record of successes with world-class heavyweights. How much of a difference can Robert Garcia actually make? Alexander Usyk, on the other hand, has fought other battles outside of his field of operation, but with Papachenko in his corner, without many changes, knowing that he has been undefeated, knowing that he has a win over Anthony Joshua, as the defending champion, Alexander Usyk carried that swagger of the undefeated 2-weight world champion in the ring come fight night. So much to look forward to on August 20, 2022. The Rage on the Red Sea, aka the Usyk versus Joshua rematch in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. May the best man win, and I wish fight fans a great fight. These are just my observations. What are yours? Let us know in the comments below. If you like more content like this and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. It helps the channel out a lot, i.e. inspire us to make more quality content for y'all. As always, thanks so much for your support in advance, and welcome to Ringside Stories. If you've done that already, you're amazing. We already know that you are the true undisputed world champion. Till next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer with Ringside Stories. Thanks so much for watching, and have a legendary day.